You are watching the Panafrican Dailytv with Dr. Susan Tatah. The Africa we want: unity, consciousness, our culture, our spirituality, our history. One Africa for Africans worldwide. Motherland's calling its diaspora home. Join my voice. Join my team. Join my campaign. Campaign 21 hashtag 1 million subscribers on the Panafrican Dailytv YouTube. Be a volunteer. Apply now. Be the new Africa. Wonderful, wonderful. Greetings, beautiful people. As you can see, this is another beautiful day here on Pan African Daily TV on a very interesting topic, how to organize ourselves. Because, like we've been talking in the past days, we have everything that we need, everything is available. But the only one thing that is missing is how to organize ourselves to be able to put our resources together, to be able to connect, network, partner, and do business with one another as Pan Africans, with our initiatives, with our organizations, with everything that we have. So the time is now. Time is now for us to be able to broker deals on the continent with these leaders. The time is now for us to actually bring our resources together, to put our strength, our power, and volunteer and bring our money where we're supposed to so we can make this dream happen. So I want to greet you all for joining this excellent lecture with Professor Joomay, who is already here. And we all know who he is. We all know what he's been doing. We all know how successful Professor Joomay has been, pioneering change on the continent and in the diaspora through the Pan African Federalist movement and organization that we know. So please welcome with me Professor Joomay Faye, live on Pan African Daily. Professor, good evening. Greetings to you.
Greetings, my dear sister. How are you?
Oh, we are good. We're good. Like I say, it's another beautiful day. Is it possible for you to adjust your camera a little bit up? Yes.
Is that
Wonderful.
is that better?
If you can do it a little bit again, I don't mind.
I don't want you to
Not
guys
too
my
much. Yes.
I don't want
Perfect.
you I don't
Perfect.
want you guys to see my old neck with my wrinkled neck.
Oh my God, are you kidding me? Oh, you don't want us to see your beautiful everything in you, and that's nice. Oh, please, come on. I mean, the queen is watching. Your queen is right behind you. And closing the curtain flame on Daily. How are you doing, Prof?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. I'm happy to be here.
Mm-hmm.
Really a wonderful place to be.
Mm-hmm.
I really am grateful that African people have someone who is so selfless in promoting the needed systemic change, the need for Africans to come out of the darkness in which we have been for centuries, since we've been in contact with not only the Middle East, not only Western Europe, but also the Middle East. The threat to our own existence as a cultural entity or, a cultural group. I'm very happy to be here. And talking about organizing, yeah, I would certainly be happy to share my little bit of an experience and insight on organizing in not only the need for it today, but what it has been throughout the African history. What exactly, uh, what does organizing represent in African culture? Mm, in African culture, it's rooted in African culture. I mean, you know, so on. Yes, thank you for having me. And I say hi to all the listeners out there who are following this conversation.
Yes. Um, Before we go into just giving you your topic, because I think we don't have much time with you, you have other things, and then we can share our other inspirational aspirations about that later. I would just want to remind our audience who is joining us that when you join this show, your objective is just to invite one another to join us here. Because, like we said, this is the next level on Pan African Daily where we are getting into action. We speak, yes, but we're going to act. All right. So please, if you're joining us, you're watching us, thank you so guys for always being here, for always taking the advantage of actually tapping into knowledge, the kind of knowledge that you won't find anywhere, reading anywhere in any curriculum. We are here to actually, share that us with us today. So yes, I just want to remind us about Professor Jumai. I already sent his biography. I think all of you have read it. But to summarize this point, there's a point here that I really love the point of, all right, we know he's a PhD in political science and this. The book that he's authoring, the Berlin traps, the ultimate impediment to African Renaissance. Professor Jumai, when do you think that could happen? When do you think? Because I've seen there are rare professors that have actually written on the subject matter. And I think that's why it's actually taking you a lot of time. When do you think that book could be available?
I mean, I would think that it will be available in a couple of years. You know, I wanted really the publication to coincide with the Congress of the Pan African Federalist Movement. You know, for some people to have a deeper understanding. Just to deal a little bit, it's not just many people have the tendency to focalize on the Berlin conference. You know, but prior to the Berlin conference, there was the Berlin Institute. You know, the Linguistic Institute in Berlin, which has preceded all the institutions in Africa, in Europe, whether it is the institution of African studies in France or in the UK. And that institution was indeed the one that justified the inferiority of black people because of the language issue. It was a linguistic issue. And the image of Africa, you know, the white man's burden, you know, the African need to be civilized, all that came out of that institute, you know, of Berlin. So the image of Africans in the world, the fact that we don't have nations but we have tribes or ethnic groups, and you know, and it came all from that particular institute. So if you want to, the Berlin Institute was a cultural justification, or a cultural justification of colonization, while the Berlin Conference was an economic an economic endeavor for the vision for among European countries of the looting of Africa. So they both come together as being determinant into the faith of African people. So that's what that book talks about in a way.
All right, perfect, beautiful. I think we are looking forward to actually having, like I said, there's not just so many African authors that have authored on this topic, and I think, and you see it unfolds. That's why it's actually taking time. Even my biography, because it concerns everything about that, it really takes time because the moment you're doing all the story it keeps unfolding. So
So
yeah,
far I have written 400 pages in it, but I don't want it to be more than 250 pages. So
okay.
so that's you know, because people don't have time to read big volumes. You want to concentrate, but at the same time also, if you want to summarize some things, you know, it has to be pedagogically put in way for people to understand it well. You know,
Absolutely.
the first person I gave it said that it's a fantastic book for academics, but not for the public. And and I'm not writing for the academics.
But I think we are all academics now. There's just no way. I think, like we said, we're in the season, in the period of knowledge, and
Hmm.
whether we like it or not, we have to be so equipped with the knowledge to be able to even
Absolutely.
understand who we are and why we're doing what we're doing. So I don't think I think it's the renaissance of knowledge, and
Yeah.
everybody is happy to be a part of of what is going on now, particularly how we organize ourselves. So our topic today is it is time for us to organize ourselves, or the time to organize ourselves is now. We know that it's needed, like so what's the action plan looks like? Oh,
So I'm gonna just I while I was preparing for the show, I just jot down a few notes that I would like to read,
mm-hmm.
if you don't mind.
No, I don't mind.
The
And I
title
don't
that I
think
gave, the title I gave is "Why and for What Purpose
Yes.
Africans need to prioritize organizing today.
Hmm.
Why and for what purpose Africans need to prioritize organizing today?
Wonderful. Go ahead.
So, I continue. The foundation of African culture is Ubuntu. This is demonstrated in many African subcultures by the say of the Wolof nation in Senegal, wise woman and wise men say, Nit nite garabam. The best remedy of another person's illness or shortcoming is another person, not the material stuff, be it money, diamonds, gold, or other forms of accumulable riches. Social organization is a central piece in the African people's political and economic life. From the federalist system of the Ghana and Mali Empire to the economic communal mode of production, African people have always tried to establish modes of organizations which could allow them to empower each other as a group. Narcissism and individualism have never been the choice of the empowerment of individuals. Our contact with Western Europe and the forming of the African intellectuals, the formatting of the African intellectuals by the education system of this of the inherited of the state inherited from colonialism have transformed the African intellectuals into individuals and individualist and selfish persons who are more concerned with chasing personal advantages in organizing people than the collective good. This is why in the overwhelming majority of the African countries there are hundreds of political parties which are chasing after the conquest of power or the acquisition of some privileges for the founders who in most cases are more interested in creating a support group than an organization which can make a collective difference for the members in particular, their fellow countrymen and women, as well as African people at large. This individualistic motivation in the creation of organizations which are uh, uh, meant to address genuine problems of the people has created a situation in which their efficiency is limited and or their longevity is too ephemeris to transform them into institutions which could truly be of service in the political development process of the African countries. In regard to the efficiency of these organizations, the development of the cult of personality around the founder is a serious impediment to their as used to their usage as a free marketplace of ideas, where true competition of thoughts can take place and generate formidable and realistic policies and action plans which could serve the political and economic development. Most of the organizations for the progress of African people are caught into the syndrome of the the ad viternam founder leader, which puts a serious limit to the rejuvenation and redynamization of fresh revolutionary ideas. This is just to tell people that organizing has been not something new to us. We have been, and this is why we are a communal society. This is why we have created religion. We have done all kinds of things, but our contact with the West, with Europe, so western part of Europe, has left us kind of like handicapped in terms of what the meaning of organization is. What what should we African organizers focus on? Should we focus on addressing the symptoms of the colonial, slavery, and apartheid system? Or should we focus on ending these systems which have been put in place to enslave us or at least to extract from us surplus values? I believe that today, with what is happening on the continent of Africa, what's happening all over the place in Africa, with the change that we have witnessed in Senegal, the change we have, actually the support of the militaries we have witnessing in Mali, in Niger, and Burkina Faso. This means that the people on the continent are ready for systemic change, especially the youth. So organizing, yes, I am not saying that people should organize to address the symptoms, or at least some of the symptoms of the neocolonial system or apartheid system, or slavery. Yes, organization like reparation movement, organization like good governance, they are okay. But at the same time, they should not consume all the energy, the organizing energy that we have in ourselves. For to do that, we need to not only have this organization that exists, but also this organization should think of building coalition on systemic change that will allow them to be able to not only address this problem today, but also to be involved in the systemic change that we need to do, which is to end neocolonialism. Why building coalitions against neocolonialism is already today urgent? Before our own eyes, the colonized map of Africa, the colonizers' map of Africa is being actually, changed. France, Great Britain, and others, Spain, who have colonies in Africa, their status as colonizer or main colonizers are already today being challenged. This is what we call a new rush for Africa. Now, we have the choice today to either wait for people to do whatever they want to do and reorganize the colonial map of Africa and then put us on a track of another century or two of oppression and colonization, or we have to create the means to stop this new rush for Africa, a new scramble for Africa, and organize ourselves in a way that could make that possible. The reason why today colonialists, the African countries, are vulnerable to imperialism is because they're not viable. As Kwame Nkrumah said, as Marcus Garvey had foreseen already, as Cheikh Anta Diop, as Barthélemy Boganda, many have already said this. These countries are not viable. They are created in order to remain vulnerable to neocolonialism, to imperialism. We're not like, we are not saying leave everything you do, no, but create time to coalesce with others in order to address this systemic issue, which is the non-viability of our countries. When we say non-viability of a country, it means that a country has responsibility, recurrent expenses every month, every year, every time. But if the tax base of the country, what the country is raising through taxes and customs, is not enough to create, or at least to pay for these responsibilities, these recurrent expenses, then the country become obligated to keep borrowing to make ends meet. And this debt keep continuing to get bigger. And that also causes the country to be rated in a low rating note, which means that the interest rate is high. Even paying for insurance when you borrow become an obligation, despite paying for high interest rate. So this non-viability of our countries, the only way it could be solved is if these countries, take the portions of sovereignty that are so costly and that they cannot do anything with, and mutualize the management of these portions of sovereignty, create a federal state that could manage these portions of sovereignty. This means that this is why at the Pan-African Federalist Movement, we say that yes, remain the organization you are, But at the same time, there is an overall priority for all Africans, the end of neocolonialism. We need, we need to come together, have a coalition while we're doing what we're doing, have coalitions to address this issue. And to address this issue, the Pan-African Federalist Movement is calling for a first Pan-African Federal Congress, where all these organizations, through national coalition, will come to this Congress, not to say, I published this book or I have this thesis on African development, but to create and to put together a campaign machine that will allow people to go back home and campaign for their country to make constitutional modification that could allow that country to be a member of a united African state, whether it is Haiti, Jamaica, Senegal, or Liberia, or Ethiopia. People will come to home. So the main priority to me is that our house is burning. There is a new scramble for Africa. There is a new reorganization of the colonial map of Africa that is on the road. Unless we collectively say, look, we understand that this is our priority. We have to end the vulnerability of our state to imperialism. Then all the other organizations that we have will amount to nothing. If you don't have sovereignty, you cannot have good governance. If you don't have sovereignty, you cannot have real liberty. If you don't have sovereignty, you cannot create opportunities for self-betterment of the people. So this is today fighting neocolonialism, not an armed struggle, but just recognizing that our states are unable to manage these portions of sovereignty and they are vulnerable to imperialism. And this vulnerability can only be stopped if we take out this portion, this responsibility off of the back of our state that are unable to do anything with them and are serving as means to subjugate our people and extract what in economy we call national surplus values. So the Pan-African Federalist Movement, to come back to this, is a coalition. It's a grassroots coalitions of individuals and organizations. Each country must have a national committee. Each region, we have 10 regions, 5 on the continent and 5 on the diaspora. Each one of them must have a regional committee. We don't want people to come to the Congress as individuals. We want them to come as representatives of the people in that country who believe in the urgency to unite our country. And we call federalism because Africans are familiar with federalism. The Mali Empire, the Ghana Empire were all federal, not unitary, where the king, the emperor decides on everything. No, there were portions where the kings decided things, and there were portions that were allocated to the emperor in the traditional African. We talk about federalism because it's the best way to preserve the diversity, which is the richness of African people. We talk about federalism because it will allow a reorganization of governance in which the people will be the decider of what power the center must have in order to run the countries, not the center deciding on what bits and pieces of power it will give to the periphery. So organizing is important, but why do we want to organize? If we organize to keep neocolonialism here, to accommodate ourselves to neocolonialism, then it's almost useless, because we will think that we could change anything when we can't change anything. We will find ourselves a century from today in the same situation, even maybe worse of a situation. I always tell people, anyone who wants to see what will happen to the African states on the continent in 100 or 200 years, they could go and see Haiti. Haiti, is an example of what is waiting for Senegal, what is waiting for Ghana, what is waiting for Ethiopia and all those countries. We don't want to go there. And the Americans, 4 years into independence, they realized that their little states could not do anything, that they were vulnerable to England, to even Algeria at that time. So they decided that these states, we need to unburden them of some of these portions of sovereignty, make the tax base bigger for the management of this portion of sovereignty, which is the federal state, and then create a union that could mean something to the coming generation of Americans. And the rest is history. We all know how that has worked. We Africans need to understand that today it is not yelling at France. It is not going and marching. It is not doing big rallies and all of that that will change the condition of black people in America. It will be Africa creating a sovereign entity that is viable through unification of the state, of the countries, political I meant, and creating an empire, quote unquote, a republic if you want, that could serve not only Africans on the continent but also be a protective element for Africans living in minorities and their countries. We cannot continue to be blind to an urgency. The urgency is to end neocolonialism. Whatever organizations you have, you need to pay attention to your organization being part of the fight against neocolonialism. And that fight against neocolonialism, the Pan African Federalist Movement is offering today an umbrella under which this coalition could be created. It is not the global Pan African movement's role to do this. The global Pan African movement is just a network of solidarity between black organizations or of individuals, black people. That's what it is. The Pan African global movement doesn't implement a program. No one has seen the global Pan African movement implementing any program, Sylvester Williams and them. What they have done is that they have supported groups that are doing specific things in different parts of the African world. And that is what a next Congress of the Pan-African movement should strive in getting people to understand that this is a network, a solidarity network between black people to help you do the work that you're doing. If Pan-African movement, global movement was working as a real organization is supposed to be, the Pan-African Dailytv should be listed there to have people, oh yeah, I want to watch program where I could get education. But we don't have none of that. We need them to reorganize the Pan-African, the global Pan-African movement to make it serve for what it was meant to serve from the beginning, meaning a solidarity network between black people across the globe. We need to understand that we cannot just be as individuals blinded to the fact that there is a fundamental issue with us, that the house is burning. And if this new scramble for Africa arrives at the end, if we don't organize, create coalitions like the PAFM for this new scramble to be halted, then welcome, we're going to be recolonized at least by death in the next decade or so. I'll use that as an introduction, Dr. Tatah, and thank you.
Okay, I mean, an introduction, quite explicit, quite strong, quite bold. I just want to find out with you, am I still getting some echoes from my end? Because I just don't know where they're coming from. Please indicate. I think I also hear myself out here, so I don't know. I'm using two microphones, two cameras. You know what happens to us. You know, we don't want to get anything. It's better for you, please, to deal with the echoes than for us to lose any show here. So, like, I'm working on two programs, right? I'm streaming on two programs. I'm using two cameras, two microphones, two everything. Yeah, in case one collapse, and we're really safe and backed up. So, I don't know if that echo is too much. Please pardon me. I don't even know where it's coming from because I used the same system yesterday. Well, thank you so much for that brilliant and brief and powerful introduction, Professor Jamai. I think it is not just even a matter of the time is now, it's just we are ripe. We're actually just ripe to do it. We had Professor Kelly said yesterday that we should stop complaining because we've grown, we've even outgrown. Now it's just like we're repeating, like we've actually outgrown the process, and we should have been in this organizing role long, long, long big ago. So, but thank you so much because you're already doing that, and we are doing that, and we look forward to the PFM, the Pan African Federalist Movement, to actually take up this role, as you're saying, you don't have programs. I don't, there's no programs that you're coordinating. All you're doing is mobilizing the different representatives and groups and initiatives from each country. So I think mm, you're working like an umbrella for all
Absolutely.
Pan-African initiatives, not just only Pan-African initiatives and even business initiatives. That's the same thing that we are doing. We mobilize, from our organization, the African We Want, bringing all peoples from different backgrounds. And that's the job I've been doing here for Germany, voluntarily since my life out here. And
Absolutely.
so all these stories actually have empowered the brand here in Germany. It's so powerful. And so imagine if actually we could be mobilized and organized like the way we are doing, like, consciously. Before we used to just gather, celebrate our culture, show it. That was also part of the plan. But you imagine us consciously doing these activities now. I think it is more than awesome. So we want to thank you so much for this initiative, for pronouncing it out. We've been looking for other ways to say we can organize, we can mobilize, we can, let everybody just do his own thing. We said it. And then another key point that you said that is very important that I would still like to, just say it over again. I think we heard it. So it's the fact that you said keep your own thing. And that's what
Absolutely.
federalism is all about.
Absolutely.
I don't know any system of governance that is so democratic like that. You talked about the Mali, the Ghana Empire, the Songhai Empire, and all of that. That was actually the African social system of governance, federalism, giving power to individuals to be able to come up. And exactly how were the communities and the kingdom is built? They were only built on federalism. It was
Absolutely.
nothing like overall, all of us coming together and just having, because contrary to federalism is dictatorship, what we have today.
Yeah, absolutely. Unitarism.
One kingdom, one king, and
Unitarism,
then he
yes.
reigns forever. No,
Absolutely.
we had quarter heads. And so today, the traditional system, that's why I love the traditional system. It is so powerful. The
Absolutely.
traditional system is on point because we still have it. We have the chief, yes, but then we have the quarter heads that are taking care of each quarter, and then we'll bring the report at the end of the day. What is that?
Absolutely.
Professor
Absolutely.
Jumai, is that not federalism?
Absolutely. And Susan, there is one thing that everyone say, yeah, there are too many languages in Africa. Well, the too many languages in Africa is the product of something of a political vision that was very, very, very progressive. I colonize you, but it doesn't mean that I take your culture away from you. I take your language away from you. I colonize you to only control some portion of your sovereignty, which is foreign relation, money, and all of that stuff. But at the same time, I leave you with things that you could do better, and that's included in your culture.
Mm-hmm.
Language is part of that. When they created the French Empire and all of that stuff, the obligation was everyone to speak French, everyone to speak English, or everyone to speak German, and all of that stuff. But the reality is that Africans have never believed in that particular, oppressive system. They have never believed in that particular oppressive system. Leave the person some air, some room to breathe with liberty, to run their lives as they are used to. They have been, used to for centuries, if not millenniums. You know. The other thing I wanted to say to Dr. Tata is that, you see, there are periods in the history of a people when the conditions for change, radical change to happen in their favor, come together. Today, the level of awareness of the African youth, demonstrated by the victory of President Bassirou Diomaye Faye in Senegal, demonstrated by the legitimacy given to the coup d'etat in Mali, in Burkina Faso, in Niger, by the young people, that is a show that people, the young people especially, have arrived at a level of understanding that this system, this neo-colonial or colonial system, does not or cannot satisfy their needs anymore. And we must, as people who really want to get Africa, neo-colonialism on the back of, and neo-colonialism as a mode of production for Africa and African countries in the Caribbean, we must read this as an omen, as something that we could use in order to accelerate the unification of our countries and end their vulnerability to imperialism. It's really, the moment is now. Opportunity is knocking at the door to create coalitions. Continue your organizations, but consider being part of a coalition to address the most important problem, which is the colonial, neo-colonial, or whatever you call it, system in Africa. Why should someone in Harlem fight for the end of neo-colonialism in Senegal? Why should somebody in Chicago or in Paris or in the black communities in London fight for the end of neo-colonialism in Cameroon? Why? At first you don't see the link, but if you look really seriously, you will realize that today, if Africa, with its potential, if it was united, it has the capacity to absorb all the unemployed young black males in America, in Europe, and even want for more. It has the capacity to end police brutality, that you are guilty until you prove that you are innocent. It could end that. And Malcolm X said it. Malcolm X said, people don't fear you for what you have. It doesn't matter whether you are a billionaire athlete or a billionaire music Mongol. The treatment that you have here in America is, the borderline of disrespect for some time. But if you do have something like a united African state that is feared by America, that is feared that it will put a veto on American decision or policies in the world, but then it will end.
I just tried to get a headset for myself. Is it better now with the echo?
I can hear you very well. I don't even hear an echo.
Yes, me and you were cool. I hear you too. I don't get any echo, but the audience has been the one that has been. Is it okay now? Anyways, exactly like what you're saying. It's a lot of knowledge out here, and it's a lot of knowledge that our young people know. Um, what is What is Yelp, Stevie? Is there still eco or what? I don't know. It's the same system, it's the same everything that I used yesterday, and I didn't get this echo. So what is Yelp? Is it still echoing? Um, anyway, I think getting back to a topic or like what you're saying, Professor Jemai, I have to multitask here, trying to solve the problem of microphone echo and I get some this kind of bumping thing in my ear. I just don't like it. Um, but of course, we have to deal with it if it helps out there. So Africans know one other thing that we talked about yesterday is this complaint. The young people, I don't think we must all be actually enlightened, conscious to be able to organize ourselves. The little that we already know is enough for us to organize ourselves, isn't it? Must
Absolutely.
we all be conscious, like you're saying? Yeah,
No,
of course.
no, doctor. There is this false belief that we have to mobilize it. We have to educate everyone. Well, there is a say: the organized few lead at the unorganized many. There has been no revolution in the history of humankind where it's everyone who became conscious. It's just a few who are conscious and determined and organized who bring about change. We need to to build a solid block of conscious Africans in 20 in each one of the African countries will be enough. 20, only 20 in each one of the African countries will be enough to bring the change because the youth is already open to this opportunity. It's already open to this change. All it needs is need guidance. In a way, it needs something to follow in order to march towards power. That's all that is needed. You know, education. You know, the education to me is not going and telling people read this book, read that book. Education to me is explaining to people what is the priority today in terms of organizing, what kind of change, what kind of change is needed today in order for a major switch to happen in the lot of the people that are concerned. It's not just like you know this is a Western thing. This is the imperialist false directive, you know. And people who are saying, yeah, let's go educate the masses first are mistaken. The masses are conscious that their conditions are not good. The youth, what are you going to tell to an African youth? They already know that they can find jobs. But why can't they find jobs? It is simple, and they understand. If you're looking at what is happening in Mali, in Senegal, and others, where when people talk about systemic change, it is very attractive. It means that the youth is conscious of that already. So all you need is an organization that could actually serve as a receptacle for this change to happen, as a vehicle for this change to happen. In Senegal, it was a political party, a coalition. In Mali, it was these organization, these coup d'état, and all of that stuff. So it's all.
Um, Actually, I think yes, I agree. We don't need to be. We don't need all of us to have the same level of consciousness. I thank all of you that are trying to assist in this issue of stuff. I don't have, when I say I have two microphones, it's just because one of the microphones is attached to the camera, the other camera, and this other one. And since we adopted this dual system here, I think we have less turbulence here, like our streams breaking or like the situation that happened the other day. It should not. Um, Please just let's just deal with it. And now when we
edit the video and upload it again. We're going to mute some of those sounds that, yes, is disturbing. I try to turn out the volume so very low, and up to the point that I don't know whether you really understand me again. But anyway, the basic truth, Professor Jumai, that you've been trying to, or that all of us are trying to analyze and to take our struggle to the next level is the issue of organizing. And there had been no history exactly of an organization that takes that responsibility to do it. There had been no history. We have all been struggling. And of course, because of the brokenness of the continent, how should we have even acted? After they handed these plaques and put administration in place on the continent, even the quest for the different Pan-African leaders during that time to sort out how to reunite again was a big challenge. I
Absolutely.
mean, we saw those in East African preferring to say, but you know what, we can start by empowering our languages back, Swahili, for instance.
Yeah.
And when we empower our languages or we go by our culture to be able to redefine our status quo after the whole breakup and after the whole colonial system. And so, and but the West or Nigerians were more focused on federalism and their chiefdom, and and others. But in East Africa, it was really more about if we go back to our culture that we were before, it is going to help us, to reconnect back again, so that we can move further. So I think it's really been so challenging to be able to get, a specific, particularly when they maintain the boundaries and they maintain the 54 countries and they maintain, the new form of democracy that they're trying to integrate, and then coinciding, which is coinciding with the traditional systems. Africa is the only, I mean, I think other countries too, China or that, but China had empowered, they've empowered their traditional systems, their cultures, their spirituality. And so they are in a shape of they know.
Absolutely.
We are still really like usurped or
Absolutely.
hijacked from that traditional system and still
Absolutely.
so much in this. And I think the issue here is finding the balance. So
Absolutely.
getting an organization of the same vision, the same like-minded, I think it is very essential for us to start actually getting something, doing
I mean,
some.
it's we have to understand, Dr. Tata, that development starts with sovereignty. If you cannot decide and implement what you want tomorrow to look like for you, working for tomorrow, you know, if you don't have that power, you cannot get to tomorrow's change in tomorrow. There's no way. If somebody else is determining what would be the priority in your in your educative system, in your economic system, in this and that, you know you can't develop. Development starts with sovereignty. Sovereignty meaning not only the freedom to choose your policies, meaning development tools, but also the wherewithal to implement these policies regardless of what the rest of the world think. What has happened to us in 1980s is an example. The Lagos plan was an excellent macroeconomic plan, but yet the Citibank, because it had recklessly lent money to African countries, and these countries were not longer able to pay, had forced the American system government to impose on the IMF and the World Bank the structural adjustment programs, which made our countries abandon this formidable Lagos plan, Abuja Treaty, and all that stuff. Development start with that. If you want to change your education system, if you want to change your healthcare system, if you want to change anything in your country, you have to have the sovereignty. The sovereignty, what we call in political science positive sovereignty. meaning liberty to determine your policies and wherewithal to implement them, regardless of what the rest of the world think. If you don't have that, you see, the problem that we have had with East Africa, you know, the problem we have had with Israel is not just a Swahili issue, but the battle between the Riley Odinga and Kenyatta in Kenya is what foiled that unity. It had nothing to do with anything else. That was the real problem, because the Kikuyu told Kenyatta, if you go, Riley Odinga is going to take over. And we don't want that. And Nyerere did not want anybody else to lead the African Union, the Federation of East African States, but Jomo Kenyatta. You know, later on, even if we had that federation, it won't be viable. It's too small in terms of its capacity to impose its money, because a viable federation has to have a money that it could impose to the rest of the world. For them to buy goods on the international market with that money and to pay their debt with that money. The IS doesn't have that capacity. The East African Federation did not have that capacity. And this is why Nyerere come to the realization in 1997 in Accra that I was wrong to think the way I think. Kwame Nkrumah was right. With that, at least we have to have a viable entity. A viable entity that could impose to the world its money, because money is crucial. If you don't have money, you can have monetary policies. If you don't have monetary policies, you cannot control inflation and unemployment in your country. You become a victim, of nothing, of everything, So that's a fundamental thing that, many economists in Africa running, well, yeah, we could do this money. They don't even realize what money is, We have to organize, like I was saying, Dr. Tatah, I don't care what organization you are working with to address some of the symptoms or some of the symptoms of neocolonialism or Jim Crow. I don't care what organization you have. But if Africa doesn't have an empire or a sovereign entity that could impose to the rest of the world how it will run African affairs, your chances of getting success in what you're doing, are very limited. And you might be a Sisyphus, meaning like you will go close and come back, go and come back, down. We need to work together as a coalition to address neocolonialism, restoration of our sovereignty. Then everything else will be open to us. Then we could use the gold in Africa. We could use this. Some people are saying, yeah, Mali and Burkina Faso, they could use their gold to make money. They will be foolish to do that. Because what will happen is that the American and the Chinese will buy all their money and ask for gold in return.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So we have to look beyond our little turf. And the other problem with Africa is that we create turfs for ourselves. Everyone wants to be a leader. You're leading nothing. You're leading nothing. If you are in an organization, you think that, yes, you are great people. Oh yeah, I heard you last night on the TV. If that's the only, that's crazy.
Professor Joomay, I'm just giving you the terms and the power because it's so true. We're too intelligent and we are all leaders. That's the point. But
Absolutely.
at one point, are we leading? Now, if we better organize ourselves, we know that we're organizing ourselves to lead in a more professional way.
Absolutely.
Now, who are the ones that are responsible for the funding? Who are the ones that go about and fund? When we look at Dr. Marcus Garvey and all the movements that started, they make money. They went to the continent to raise money for all their organizations to exist in the in. Money is not in the diaspora. Money is on the continent.
Absolutely.
We have to carry our organizations and movements to where the people that needed it is, and they will put money into it. I've been researching that on the continent in my small country, and you see, everybody is just the moment they just understand that this is for our interest and the interest of our children. I'm telling you, even those you call the poorest people are contributing and they're putting money into it. So that's a matter of organization and leadership. Yeah, we can all be leaders. We're leading, but what are we leading? Where are
Absolutely.
we leading? That is why the time to organize is now. Am I correct?
Absolutely. The time to go into coalition. Keep your organization, but there are issues that your organization cannot solve. No
Yeah.
one organization could solve the issue of neocolonialism.
No.
You know, we all collectively must build a coalition that could end neocolonialism.
Mm,
That's the fundamental thing. Okay,
mm,
it doesn't matter what you're doing out there,
mm.
do it. But we must understand that ending neocolonialism in Africa is a collective interest of all black people around the world.
And it's a must.
If we don't do it, but then we're losing because, I could take the case of the reparation movement. Who
Hmm.
is going to get reparation for, you're not going to get reparation if it is not demanded by a force that could impose on others something, you know.
Hmm.
You can't have black economic power unless you have black political power. That's the problem, you know, because if you don't have the black political power, then money will be too expensive for you to get. And I heard the professor, I think yesterday, talking about a country cannot survive without a debt, but that debt must be at a power, at a level of interest rate borrowing that is conducive to capital to be used for development. We need to have that, you know.
Hmm. I mean, but even when we hear about some experts in economy say that is part of a is part of a what do they say? A
It's
part
a,
of
it's a
this
developmental tool.
exactly.
It's a tool to control. It's one of the tools to control unemployment and, and inflation. If you don't have that, but the problem with the debt in Africa, Dr. Tata, is that our countries borrow to make ends meet, meaning
Yes.
they borrow dead capital. you know, there's not capital that is borrowed to create surplus values, but it is capital that is borrowed to be used for consumption in CDA. That's dead capital, and dead capital doesn't multiply. It's capital invested in others, like for example a country endorsing small business loan, for example, you know
Mhm.
things like that, facilitating certain things for credit, access to credit to citizens, you know guaranteeing it with the loan that you have. Those are programs that could help you pay for your debt without a problem. Huh? But getting that to pay functionaries, as civil servants, getting a debt to build the road to nowhere, you
To
know, you
still.
know, you know, that's what. Especially if you are a country where your national surplus value, what Paul Barron called national surplus value, is taken away from you by imperialist mode of production. You know, you can't do anything else. You know.
Some also minds are saying like when we talk about Africa's debt relief and Africa's debt position. I mean, I saw Professor PLO did an extensive lecture on it. But what would you say? What about reparations? Why should they even pay? Why would they should pay anything about that?
Susan, Dr. Tata, I am of a different opinion. See, that, like they say, is a complex issue. Okay, you see, uh, I could agree on renegotiating the debt in terms of the rate of interest is exorbitant. We shouldn't be paying insurance for the debt. I could agree on lowering the interest rate like that we have access to debt like China, like others, based on the negotiation from a position of power, not from begging, you know, because anything that you do, countries need debt to function. If you pardon the debt, that means that your credit rating goes down, which means that if you want to borrow next time, you have to pay more, which means that somebody has bought political power on you because they negotiated the pardon of your debt. No debt is pardoned for a country. It is transformed in political influence or higher interest rate down the line. That's what it is. But we are dumb enough to, oh yeah, debt pardon. Yes, there will be a lot of cash available today, but tomorrow the generation, in 10 years, the generation who fights with the responsibility will borrow at much higher rate. So all the money that you had gotten from that debt relief, will become something that you have to pay later, and in higher, in much harsher conditions. The answer is not pardoning the debt. The answer is ending the vulnerability of our state to imperialism.
Yes.
Political unification, creation of an empire on which the sun never set. That's the answer. Any other answer is an accommodation to imperialism. Any other answer is an accommodation to imperialism. And our intellectuals in Africa are too busy finding means and ways for accommodation to imperialism, to neocolonialism. Good governance. What is good governance? It's a nonsense. Because good governance is about the crumbs left behind by imperialists, political or economic crumbs. And they telling us, yeah, you should organize in terms of how these crumbs are spent. But how about the cake that belonged to me? Instead of fighting for restoration of that cake to me, the ownership of the cake, you're telling me, and I'm accepting gulfully, that, my problem is because, the people don't know how to share the crumbs I'm leaving behind. That must be done. A lot of African intellectuals talk about foreign direct investment, for example. The Japanese in 1860 had already refused foreign direct investment in the condition it was given. 1860. Because they say that you cannot have industrialization if you have some sort of level of foreign direct investment. Because foreign direct investment is nothing but bringing outside capital to your country. And when you produce with that capital, the surplus value, the benefits from that capital goes back to where the capital came from. So you're left naked.
Not just the surplus.
Of course, more, because that foreign direct investment is to buy material, machines that you're going to use, meaning that it makes those industries function. So you are left with nothing. So we need to, I say to people, the African academics need to be re-educated. Many of them are too ignorant to understand these things. They are too busy reading the books that they have, instead of knowing that getting a PhD is nothing but getting the tools to do research, nothing else. It's not what is said in the book that is important. It's the tool you have to analyze what is said in those books. That is a PhD. That is a master, But we want to dance to the rhythm of and then, Africa, good governance, and they applaud good governance, go. Focus on the crumbs we're leaving you. Those leaders don't know how to share those crumbs, and we Africans are very happy with that. How could you be happy with the crumbs? You are the one who baked the cake. The person takes it away from you and tells you that you have to learn how to share the crumbs I left behind, and you could be happy with that, or you could even follow that kind of advice.
that is the problem. I'm so sorry to interrupt because you're making a point. You see, and most of these intellectuals are always saying our people, our youth need education. To be
No,
honest
it's
with you,
them who need
thank you,
education.
thank you.
Because
That's what
if
I
you
want to say.
educate the youth with this wrong, completely erroneous conception of the African academics of today, then the
Mm,
youth is going to be only an accommodationist youth to neocolonialism and imperialism. And that's not what we need in Africa. We need a revolutionary youth. Revolutionary doesn't mean going to take guns or anything. No, we don't want guns. We want the ballot. You know, we want the ballot. We want like they did in Senegal, win the elections with a lot of sacrifice, but win the elections by getting means, social media, to educate the youth in the urgency of a systemic change.
mm,
Today, for example, I see your Cameroon. Today, I see that see China is very smart. It has targeted some African intellectuals today to go and chant the Chinese system. Try to convince people that China is not an imperialist country. China is an imperialist country. When I was in Yaoundé, you could not find the money, the coins had disappeared because Chinese
exactly.
bought all of them. you know?
Even no, I think if you say buying all of them is even giving some privilege and credit, they stole it. The most
Yes. Yeah.
difficult,
And yet
that's
yet
a topic. That's a
I
topic that
I
I'm
know a
looking.
few I know a few academic Cameroonian academic who will tell you no, China is not imperialist. I tell them you are fools.
We need to get that policy debate right here on Pan African Daily. I'm telling you because I observed the whole thing the whole time I was down there, and I keep telling them. I mean, the most difficult thing to operate in Cameroon is coins. You can have your
Absolutely.
money and do anything. There are no coins. There are no
No,
coins.
no, none, none. The Chinese to
You want
call
to buy
them.
rice, you want to
Eh?
buy from the market. There are no coins.
That's what they would do to the. That's what they would do to the gold of Ivory of the Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger. If they say that we're gonna guarantee our money with gold, that's what they will do. It. You will not find any more gold soon because they have so much excess cash. They will buy all your money and they'll ask you for gold after.
Of course, they print their money. They print their money.
Oh, yeah, exactly, exactly, exactly.
Hmm.
You know. So,
This is so clever. I've never
so
heard, honestly, I've never gotten it from this perspective that you're saying, but it's just the fact. The idea of us always saying, no, we have to trade gold, that is the same
no,
thing
who's
when you
foolish
go
for
and
that?
you buy all your gold.
Of
And
course,
that money is just paper that you can
exactly. And they could print as much as they want of it. You know, it is accepted on the market, and they have people who could manipulate that value of that money, so it's high. You know,
hmm,
I'm not saying anything about Nana Addo Akufo Dankwa. It's for Ghanaians to say whatever they have to say about him. What I'm saying is that Ghana need to play a leadership role in the unification of the African states. That's all I'm saying. You see, I'm not concerned with these how these people, these rulers in Africa, because we are lost in thinking that they are the problem. They are not the problem. Imperialism is the problem. The vulnerability of our state is the problem. The problem that Marcus Garvey has talked about, calling for unity, Kwame Nkrumah, Sheikh Anta Diop, Barthélemy Boganda, that's the issue. It's not how the crumbs left behind by imperialism are managed. We are being fooled. We are being hoodwinked. We have to stop being hoodwinked, to participating in the accommodation of our people to neocolonial and imperial domination.
hmm.
We can't continue like this. And organizing around the end of neocolonialism is a priority today. Organizing around the end of neocolonialism is the priority today because the time is ripe and Africa is being redivided. The new colonial map of Africa is being redesigned right before our own eyes. You know. When the
Well,
first colonizers came, they give mirrors to our people and get their land. Today, they're giving scholarship to our academic to get our land. They're giving them per diem to conferences in universities in China, universities in the US, universities in France. Those are the same. It's the same than the mirror that our ancestors received to accept colonization. We are receiving the same, things today. Hmm?
Oh, um, Professor Jumai, please don't quench the fire of us thinking that it's impossible to do this thing. Like when we say, they are redesigning it. Oh, please, I want to give a shout out to a member, an honorable member, upon which, yes, we are calling on everybody. Mamle Ramasodi has been a permanent member of Pan-African Daily. So, yes, everyone can sign a membership. When you see this sign, it's a sign that we have our honorable members here, like we were saying yesterday. So, I want to give a shout out to you, my king, and thank you so much for your support. And just continue. Thank you. So, Professor Shimei, I was like, you're saying it, and I know we're here now to organize, and I know, yes, the struggle to redesign, but do you think it's working? No, it's not working. We had a handful of the leadership in those times, and they could be, the people were not informed as they're informed today, the youths were not informed as they're informed today. But you see, so I don't agree with anything that wants to push us into that very thing, even the as we say in the new form of petitioning and gaining over Africa, gaining control over Africa. I mean, we are on the continent. You are definitely going on the continent. You're more on the continent than in the diaspora, and you see the spirit of the young people, the way they are defending everything. Do you think there's going to be a walk in the park? It's not going to. I also see the possibility, like, because sometimes when we talk about doing business with China or something like this, to be honest, we don't need to hide anything here. We are here we're here in an education and information platform, empowering ourselves with professional knowledge from recommended, accredited professors and people of wisdom. So we're not scared to say anything here. What I see on the continent, what my spirits tell me is that yes, bring in all your malls, your stuff, your investment. Come, build your malls and your supermarket and your industries. At the right time, we're going to chase you out.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Simple. At the
Absolutely.
right time, we will just tell you to pack and leave.
Absolutely.
So whoever, and I think this has been echoed a lot of times here, whoever is investing under the leadership without the majority of the community or taking into consideration that it's a lost investment on the country of Africa. Whether we are going to see it in our lifetime or after a lifetime, but one day we're going to agree to this. Bring everything that you are bringing, but at one time you would pack and leave. You would leave those things for Africa because there is no way. We know it, whether it's by fight, by hook, or everything. No battle has ever been won with the power of the guns. And so 1.4 billion Africans, you would not kill us all. What would the world become? Build all your robots or whatever thing you're doing. So you can use the same role to play and play. But I think, yes, the youth understanding it is saying, come in, do this business. And without us, we are coming and the systems are dying down. Let us see who is going to own those deals.
Absolutely.
Why not?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I think that Dr. Tata, we were talking about always in terms of organization.
Yes.
You see, at every time in the history of a people, you know, the reality dictate what to organize around. The reality is what? It's not our dream, it's not our desire, it's the reality that dictates it. What I'm asking people who have organization to analyze what is today the African reality in terms of development, in terms of, you know, the desire for development. Read what the youth's mood is. Read what mobilizes the youth. Read what really gets the youth excited. And then you will know exactly what is worth organizing around, what is urgent organizing around, and what is not that urgent organizing around. You know, today the African youth, people see the youth in Burkina Faso, in Mali, carrying the Russian flags. That doesn't mean that they want Russia in their country.
Yes.
It doesn't mean that they want, those thugs in their country. It only means it's a message to France. We are sick of neocolonialism. That's all it is. And if we read that, if we read it that as the aligning with Russia, that's wrong. They have no. They're just angry. They're angry about the system. The system could no longer provide them with the opportunities, which are expected of a republic. So all of this is that we have to read the reality and organize around. And this is what gave PAFM a raison d'etre. We've studied. We said, okay, what exactly is today? What is in the heartbeat of African youth? It's sovereignty. Sovereignty. When Kwame Nkrumah was talking about Africa must unite now, African people are crying for unity, one could have doubted it, and it is right. Maybe a lot of African people were not understanding of, but today the African youth, if it was today that Kwame Nkrumah said that, I will say 100%, Dr. Nkrumah, you're right. So we need to read these signs expressed by the desire for a better life of people. In order to organize around making this happen. Keep your organization, like the PFM said, but look into being in a coalition to end neocolonialism. Look into being in a coalition to end neocolonialism. If you don't, then your organization will continue to exist, but it will not amount to much of thing.
I think we have digested and known it. So, what is the plan of the PFM now in order to actually bring
The
this to reality?
the plan of
Like
the
you said, we
the
have
plan of the
organizations
absolutely
there.
the plan of the PAFM, we have in our international meeting yesterday, last Saturday, the last ordinary meeting of the international committee, decided that we want to mobilize African people. We want to invest, the PFM want to invest its time in organizing the Global Pan-African Congress,
Yes.
so that the network of solidarity between black people could be re-established. So that the confusion that is created by the Marxist left about Pan-Africanism be taken away. Pan-Africanism for black people, it is not for white, it's not for Arabs, it's for black people. And we need to have a Congress. We don't say Pan-Africanism is a post-racial movement. And you could tell in the Song of God, until the color of the skin is no more significant than the color of the eyes, me fight. Meaning I'm going to be fighting a Pan-African fight. Until the color of a man's skin is no more significant than the color of the eyes. That's the summary of what Pan-Africanism is. It's a post-racialist and sovereignist movement. We need to have a Congress where, like 1945, the Pan-African movement has a tactical goal where it will encourage organization to work for that goal. In 1945, it was the end of colonialism and the end of Jim Crow. That's what it was. And people, Kwame Nkrumah, Kenyatta, and all of them went back home and did that. Today, we need a Pan-African Congress to do something like that. The next thing that the PAFM is working on also is that there is a myriad of African organizations, Africa Must Unite organizations. A lot of organizations there calling for African unity. We want to organize a forum of these organizations to come and see how could we, put our efforts together. And then after that, we
So
want to organize the Pan African Fellows Congress. The next 3 years, I'm talking about the next 3 years, the Pan African Fellows Congress, to launch a campaign machine. And at that Congress, we will decide on what portion of sovereignty, the portions of sovereignty we want our state to utilize the management. And what is the size of the state that we need to have the critical mass of state that we need to have a viable federal state. Those are the three of them: 2025, 2026, 2027. That's what the PAFM is working. And
thank you very
people
much.
could, people could go to our website, pafmus.org, and be part of this. Dr. Tatah, certainly you will be one of the centerpiece of this effort. You know.
Sure. Let's just get a 1 second break, and I come back with the last questions. I know you're rounding up, and we're all rounding up, but this is a very crucial, important topic because I know you going on a very tough missions out there. It will be difficult for us to actually get in touch with you. So I want us to actually get everything that we need to be able to support the PFM. Realize this. So let's just take a little break, and we'll be right back. All right, we are back. And as usual, I like to just make our announcements here. I already said it yesterday how you can support the Pan African Daily TV. Actually, at this initial stage that we are reorganizing ourselves, we are actually restructuring ourselves. We need resources, we need volunteers. I mean, you just saw the mic issues, and I'll actually want to beg on any of you that are text experts, and particularly oh my God, particularly brother NS Parker, all of you that are watching me here. I mean, these things we can connect it, virtually. So we can do, I don't know, we have all sort of ways to be able to connect. So you can help us, I mean, set up uh, all these issues. We don't know what is coming from, because most of the time when it happens and then we begin to say, oh no, because it's YouTube, but maybe sometimes it's because we're not using the right equipment. And sometimes, we're too grown and empowering our own systems that we're using. So please, it's not just a point of um, supporting financially, but we need talented young people in the tech industry. Those that can set up all these, mega systems that we're working on. And also, I'm not just talking about the men. We know a lot of tech savvy women here, like Stevie. I think I need that support. We need the support. So the Pan African Daily need the support. Of course, we do also need you to get people to advertise with us. I mean, those of you that are actually interested in advertising your business, your projects, your initiatives, or whatever, just send an inquiry to panafricandailytv at gmail.com. Panafricandailytv at gmail.com is also the support us a channel which you can channel your donations to us, or use super chat. But I think we were saying super chat, with all that comes to it. Of course, if we're using also a YouTube, to reach out to our people, which is one of the really stable. We also have our own medias and stuff like that. I think we've been here to transport our 106,000 subscribers. We just hit it today in the evening. It would be difficult to relocate, but we are also working on that. So please, we need your support. Support Pan African Daily TV. Donate to us. Get Black Africans, brands, or designers, or entrepreneurs to actually put their art here. Particularly Pan African movements. That's just one thing I wanted to say. We talked about this yesterday, and Sister Zenobia. talked about this extensively. Like, the problem is we are not communicating, we are not advertising. Now, if we don't host Professor Jumai from the PFM, we would not have a flyer circulating and saying this is how we have to do it. And if we don't bring him here to host him at least 2 hours sitting here and having this conversation and inspiring one another, but the next question would be, what should we do? How can we contribute to make this happen? I think even the first times that you came here, you had said that by 2025, we're working towards this. And so the real question would be, how can we support? And in terms of that, we need advertisement. I mean, sometimes we can just put only the videos, or we need volunteers from your organization to host on the Pan African Daily TV. It's too much work. And so, most of the things that we are doing, we need to be able, like we say, we need volunteers from this to talk about their programs, and to mobilize funds for the programs, to advertise on these programs, so that we can get into action to this concept of organizing. What do you think about that, Professor Jumai?
No, I mean, I think that people have to understand that revolution is not free. You know,
Yes.
revolution change is not free. You all the time doing working, people have to understand that they have to find means and way of sustaining something like the Pan African Daily TV, either through you know reaching out to businesses that can advertise through it, or maybe having organizational fundraising for the Pan African Daily TV, something like that. You know, people don't realize that even if you give $1, it could be. It has the Pan African Daily TV. I see has 106,000 members. If everyone could give $1 a month, you will be able to face most of the expenses that the Pan African Daily TV needs. We have to be creative in finding ways and means. We don't have to wait to be given, to be told to give in order to give. We have to contribute to revolution. We have to contribute. Absolutely necessary. Without, we cannot be too comfortable to just, hearing these programs or being it and having you do it. We have to be also concerned, what do you do to survive, to be able to do these programs. You know, how do we keep the Pan African Daily TV alive? You know, we have that's part of the thinking too. You know, it must be part of the thinking. Otherwise, we would be a little bit immature. Let me put it that way, in a kind way. You know, all the organizations that we have, they need that kind of support. If you
But
see a
this is,
cause, give to the cause. You
mhm.
know.
I'm sorry. I just want to bring something. We're talking about network and how we unite and how we organize ourselves. I mean, yes, we appreciate your valuable contribution. Like, everyone here is actually contributing, but we're saying there are things that we have to do to get more. Now, we started just as small as we were and exploded until we got the global attention. Right. But now, most of our speakers, I can say some, feel too big now to come on Pan African Daily because they are on mega BBCs and something. And they forget to know that exposure started here on the Pan African Daily. It is really important for us to say it. It is important to say it.
Well,
We
Susan,
have, we
Susan,
have, we have, we have,
there cannot be
hold
more.
on. We have raised all, I can say 90% of the voices that have positioned themselves in as Pan-Africanists. We have pushed the narratives, we have promoted them, we have invested time and everything. I mean, not even one of these great speakers or people we're talking about has been able to donate a $1 or a $10 to Pan African Daily. Okay? So these are things that we must talk about when we're talking about uniting. To
Absolutely.
organize the Congress is a whole huge lot of money. But once we get popular, and I like that statement when you say That is exactly the problem. When we get important, now we go to work with imperialists. We feel important at their level, and we leave the grassroots movements that actually empowered us to be where we are. Now, giving back to the community is just coming back to say, thank you. Yes,
Absolutely.
I am committed like you. I reach out to you and others, and it immediately is like, yes, I have to give back. But some have become so popular and become so important, and we are so small, and we become so small because now they talk to BBC, to Al Jazeera, and all of that, and not thinking where they started from. Is this a Pan African spirit? How can we unite when we say organizing ourselves? When we start with little grassroots, let's call it grassroots movements. We are not on Pan African Daily. Of course, we are global, but it's a grassroots movement. From the beginning, we had said, oh, now we have to create a united a structure for ourselves for all Pan Africanists, and we rally under organizations, and these organizations should create budgets because these are organizations that actually were bringing in a lot in terms of membership. Most organizations would charge members up to $1,000 for membership or something like that. But imagine that we have brought all these situations, we have brought all this to the platform where, of course, when we are saying we could organize, or like the PFM taking that, I can imagine an organization that will say, okay, now we have a global budget, and we can dispatch this budget for communication. We can dispatch this budget for organization. We can dispatch this budget to fund our volunteers and stuff like that. Isn't that good enough in organization? Because sometimes when we talk about, yes, until we have the sovereignty, how do we get this sovereignty when we are pushed as leaders, and then we back up on the smaller organizations that actually push you to become that leader? How do we
Absolutely.
talk about that in African unity? Is that not disrespectful? Like we're
Um,
preaching something and doing something else.
yeah, we need to talk about all of that. Like I said, revolution is not free. Your TV is a revolutionary TV. It has to be sustained by donations from those of us who believe in what you're doing. You know, and I am very happy. I noticed that you are a little bit more aggressive in about fundraising, because in the programs I came before, I didn't feel that aggressivity, and that's absolutely important in my opinion. You know, it's very important. You know, it's very important that we do push these people. Just like uh, uh, we do need to contribute. People need to contribute. And you know there is no other way around. Making this program to survive and continue to be able to do what it's done.
Like we always building and then breaking our structures down. You understand what I mean? It's not only about Pan African Daily TV. I'm talking about our initiatives as Pan African movements. We are weak because we don't have the muscles of the budget that we have to be able to even negotiate on that. We are weak. Of course, individuals are contributing, they're doing a lot. Being here, disseminating information is a whole lot of contribution. But when I say it's how do we, because that's the topic that will be coming, how do we fund ourselves? It's not just only donations or anything, like you say, time, resources. That's the biggest kind of donations that we can do. And I'm looking forward to this Congress. And the only thing I'm asking myself, how do we fund ourselves?
Absolutely. I mean, we like the Cabrals and them did, like others did. They ask for people to contribute.
Yes.
They are creative in finding means of getting people to contribute. You know, having to me a group like yours, the American Dailytv should have a chief fundraiser. You're not a fundraiser. You're a journalist. You are a program director. You need to have a fundraiser who actually could look at the database that you have and say, okay, this is how I'm going to proceed in making sure that at least there is at least $50,000 or so or $20,000 entry every month in the coffers of the Pan-African Daily TV. You know, there has to be someone dedicated to that. Doing whatever you can do. You know?
We are rounding up this conversation, and I want to thank all of you, because Professor Jubai is really, what we talk is the next talk is how we fund ourselves to be empowered. Because you just said something here, money. We need money in everything that we do. We need money to sustain. And I can guarantee you, some of us, when we keep these platforms, is because of the revolutionary spirit of sovereignty that you're talking here. If not, if we were a business Pan-Africanist, I would have sold this channel. I've had a lot of proposals from China and from all these people that we're talking about, from Europe, from America, and everything. If we were not determined to the proceed to say we keep our own platform and Africa is not for sale, we would sell these things. And there's too much money. You know how much they are lobbying to get us to give up these issues. And
Hmm.
so sometimes it's the truth. It's bitter, but we have to say it sometimes, because people think we enjoy or we're celebrating or we're celebrities. I tell it 1 million times here. We're all celebrities, and we want to be celebrities. Is holding conversations like this. We can do a lot more thing to be able, to celebrate ourselves as celebrities. But we have to understand the core essence that we do need. It must not you, and I do appreciate a lot of us that have been doing it, but I still wonder how we would move ahead as a stronger Pan-African Federalist Movement, Pan-African Daily TV, but all our initiatives, the thousands of them are. I think at one point we should start talking about mobilizing funding to fund and defend ourselves. I don't see any reason. At some point, people get tired, they will give up, they will sell it, they will like, what is mine in it? As a matter of fact, what am I going to do with it? So that should be noted, and I think it's worth saying it million times.
Absolutely. No, I mean, yeah, I can't say any more. You are absolutely right. We have to find means and ways. You see, this is why I'm also insisting on a functional global Pan-African movement.
Mhm.
You see, because a global Pan-African movement should be able to have a database that you could tap in to reach out to Africans who have means to help your program. You present it to them, do a GoFundMe, and then they come with the money. You know, there are millions. We are more than 1.5 billion out there.
Mhm.
Okay, and if you only say that 10% of those are conscious people, it's millions and millions. And out of those millions and millions, if you only get 1% of them, huh, you know, there's a lot of people to help you doing what you're doing. So this is why we need tools, the networking capacity, the network capacity of the Pan-African, global Pan-African movement has to be restored. It has been defaced. It has been completely ruined the last, years. And people are using the global Pan-African movement for personal interest, for fighting causes that have nothing to do with Pan-Africanism. And while the causes that have something to do with Pan-Africanism are suffering, because the role of the Pan-African, global Pan-African movement as a solidarity network between black people around the world has been completely taken away by lost, confused Marxists who have since I don't know when have hijacked this movement. You know,
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you so much. Sister Mimi Kita is saying she should write a book about all her guests. The book is already in compilation, sister. Yes, and because we keep getting guests and guests and guests and guests, it's a whole volume, and we're putting their biographies together, but also really creating kind of a Wikipedia of a Pan African Daily to put all the Black excellence and knowledge that we could tap into. Sure, that's a very brilliant idea. Like I said, it's already in the pipeline, it's going on. And but because we're doing a lot of things simultaneously, trying to write a book, to respond and try to host and coordinate and try to host and look at and research on speakers that could bring us valuable knowledge. It's just a lot to do. Of course, we're doing it. We're compiling quotes of Joshua Maponga. We're compiling a lot of stuff going on. And of course, but what I'm saying is not just about Pan-African Daily TV. I'm saying the Pan-African movements need a solid budget. We need a
Absolutely.
solid budget to fund ourselves, to fund our conferences, to fund our tours, to fund our travels. We need it. Of course, nobody can pay us. Nobody, we're not looking for a salary. We do know it. Nobody needs for a salary. But compensation means even just compensating, contributing to the movement that is coming now and all the things in the conference. Okay. So thank you. I think, yes. Are you rounding up?
Yes, I wanted to
Okay.
say goodbye. It was a pleasure being here, Dr. Tata. Always. I mean, I don't even. It's kind of like redundant to say it was a pleasure being here because by how I smile, by how happy I am, I thought I was gonna stay for an hour. That's what I. But here I am, much more than an hour. It means how you can see how happy I am to be here. Let's work together. And what you're saying is not falling in deaf ears in regard to the Pan African movement. We are definitely working on having certain things reorganized, making it possible for Pan African genuine Pan African structures like yours to have really really access to the network of African people who are aching to do something out there, but don't know exactly how to do it. You know, so yes, we will need a radio, we will need a TV, we will need anything that could get information to our people, anything, by any means necessary.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Baba. Thank you so much. Thank you, Professor. Thank you for your valuable time. Thank you for the information. We're going to continue to circulate this vision and uh, this conversation, this lecture, so that our people can actually, dive into and we're moving ahead. Thank you so very much, Prof. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Ashe. Bye.
Ashe.
One love. Yes. Good. Thank you. Thank you, my people. And it has been a pleasure. I mean, he really actually wanted to spend just 1 hour because I think he's going on a travel tonight. So, but he had to spend that time because he said it's more important for us to get into the organization phase of our activities and our movements and our work. And I do really appreciate it. I appreciate it. We all I appreciate all of you. And what's going to happen on the Daily TV next? So, actually, I had to get a young author who has authored about, a Pan African guru that he grew up to model. So, but it depends on the availability of the connection that he could have in his area. So we'll confirm that tomorrow. But apart from that, we have Maponga Joshua King, who is coming back live on Saturday because of, to continue the program that we started, and which was, not really okay in terms of technical issues. But on Sunday, we have a guest. We have a new guest again on our list, and this one I can't even post his biography. I'm telling you, Africans is super intelligent. All our professors and researchers that spend their time teaching the world about Africa, carrying on research, like he said, carrying on research. They're giving PhD titles. Did you hear that? I want us to get it. I want us to get it right. When these professors are given PhD titles, means they are supporting them to go and do a research, to go do research and bring it back. That's what they do a lot of publications in journals. And that is why even they teach, most of them they teach at the schools where they studied in. So like we give you knowledge on how to exploit your own knowledge and bring it back to us. Are you trying to wise up on what I'm trying to say? So now we from Pan African Daily going exactly behind these prophecies and say, bring that knowledge to us. Bring the research work to us. You see why it is very important that we work with professionals. Yes, Pan African Daily is made up of voiceless civil society experts, researchers, authors, professors, experts. Experts, you have an expertise in everything. Experienced people, opinionists, you have an opinion. So everybody, all of us are caught up into it. But we are talking about when we treat topics where people have gone through the research and bringing us facts on that topic is very important. And what do I do most of the time? I spend my time researching on all these prophecies that are going around in the world, teaching about Africa, about Pan-Africanism, about our resources, about our raw materials. And these are them that are sitting on big organizations, international, big things, okay? But they are not serving their community. And when I approach them and I bring the discussion to the topic, they're always like, oh, because we never had a chance, or we never had. I said, now we have a platform. Bring back the knowledge of the ancestors. You are indigenous people of Africa. I don't care whether you study where or what, and you are researching the continent and bringing it back. So it's a lot. It's a lot. I don't want to say things that I know I'm saying you already understand the impact of what I'm saying. So, yes. That is what I do majorly. And it's not just sitting on Pan African Daily and hosting them. But I think most of you can already begin to figure out how do I get, because there's a lot of questions always coming back. How do you get these people? How do you reach out to them? But of course, like Professor Joomay is saying, it has to do with a lot of organization. Of course, I write to most of them. I call them to order, like call them to audience, and most of them, honestly, is because we have never had a kind of a platform that we give it to them. Most of them are doing, but they have to give back to their community and they don't know how. And as we say, money is just not the problem these days, but knowledge is the biggest problem. And we wonder why all our researches, our continent is being leaked, not through minerals. We keep saying it all the time. No, our minerals on the ground, so this and that. Say, maybe, just maybe, minerals is one part, but it's enough distraction about that. The most important is the knowledge that they tap from Africa and through Africa's people, because nobody can know that knowledge. You do what, go and dig up all the mummies and everything. You would never get that knowledge until it's in your DNA. So yes, maybe they do it. They can get it, like we say, archaeologists, but they would need to still always confirm it from an African perspective. So yes, when we get these opportunities to empower ourselves, because it's the last kind of power that we're talking about, knowledge, is getting an overview of how the system and the world works and how they redefine us. That is the biggest knowledge that we need. Imagine, like I said, just imagine you are somewhere and you cannot hold a conversation. Right now, at some point in time, you see conscious people, they only work with conscious community in every sector, whether in your relationships, whether in your marriages. You can begin to imagine if your partner is not a conscious one, you can forget it. So these things are important for us to get knowledge of it. You have a lot of us African women, we cannot hold conversations on things that are African related. We also have to listen to other people's opinion about us. You cannot challenge a discourse. We don't attend international conference to know what they talk about us. And just because, even when we are in those conferences, we don't have an opinion. We're always surprised at a lot of things. We're like, oh, particularly when they bring all this big fat data. Oh, your country is GDP, all this kind of blah blah kind of stuff. And we just sit there and we're looking like, because we are not. No, we have to start challenging and bringing our opinion in terms of policy debates and say, no, we know better. But how do you know better when you don't have the facts? And that's why bringing our professors here that have done enough work, that have done too much to speak and to reorganize not just our finance, not just us getting a network, but to reorganize how we are also bringing out the knowledge that we know about Africa in our spaces. And we call it changing the narratives or whatever. No, I don't think even changing the narrative is also, it's bringing your perception and your perspective as an African. What do you know? You can only talk about what you know and what is debatable. They are funded as PhD. You saw Professor Joomay is a PhD in political science. So he knows a lot. When our professors come here and they talk and they teach, and even though they're so cool, because that's how we are. A lot of people are like, huh, so you have your day. Like it's a classroom where we are actually under the tree as an African family. We're not in that kind of a conservative tree movement where you sit and they just program your mind and tell you don't even have an opinion. No, here we share, and you can see how most of them also, they take the feedback from us, they garner, they get the energy from us, they get the input from us, and it is this input that helps them also. You just heard him. He said, honestly, when I was going on, his wife was already like, 30 minutes, 1 hour, because, we have to be on it. And she was telling me, Dr. Tatah, I'm so sorry. I can't be here for more than an hour. I'm like, no, let's just go on. When did he leave? 2 hours in. That is who we are. 1 hour plus 45 minutes. When I reach out to Professor Kelly, he was like, I'm so busy, my schedule, I would find time. Maybe I can just spend some 15 minutes. I say, yes, Professor, 10 minutes is okay. Show your face on Pan-African Daily. Let's begin to know who our scholars are. How much time did he spend with you yesterday? It was more than 2 hours. That is the power when we talk about organizing ourselves. Yes, bring the speakers. I hear Brother Ernest Parker is saying, get Nana Kwame to speak. Who is Nana Kwame? How do I get him? So you can get him if you know him. We know a lot of these people. This is what I talk about volunteering. This is what I mean about volunteering. This is what I mean about support, because that is already too much money that you're bringing to us here. And so it gives me a time also to prepare, to breathe, to relax, instead of looking for speakers, looking for doing flyers for them, communicating in the PR, sorting out techniques, and then still have to settle out how you have to settle bills and stuff like that. I mean, sometimes it's just enough to get us a list of those recommended speakers. It's going to help us a lot. I can only reach to many that I can. Now you see, one person that actually is a resource here, Professor Baina Bello, Professor James Moore, those are the ones that have been sending us all the speakers that because like we need our voices. And needing our voices means we train those of us that are not to be able to be on the same line, to defend this Africa, to defend our sovereignty, needs a lot of knowledge. It's not just enough for us to be brown-skinned people or melanated. Melanin is not going to just pop out of your mouth and be melanating without you actually putting this melanin into action. You know what I mean? I'm sounding like an African mother. Actually, I'm sounding like a real African mother that don't ask questions and to the kids, like I heard Stevie said yesterday, and just saying it. Honestly, we need to do more. We need to push more. We need to get, and it's a free. You see, that's also one thing. Sister Penny is saying, yes, our children. Pan-African Daily is family, children friendly. That's why we are very cautious about our language. Of course, we're even just too civilized to use some kind of languages. We've had that in the past year, in the beginning when we were just starting, when people were hurting, when people could use some kind of, but once we start putting that emphasis and say, this is a family program, we can sit actually and listen to these lectures with our kids, and they will have nothing to bother about, okay? Because we already understand our values, that even our stories and our intellectual has to start from our little babies that are already intellects by themselves. Imagine when we start, there's no time to begin to think. And that's why you see the African mother syndrome is like, I don't care. There's nothing about a baby that cannot do anything. They do everything because knowledge, this kind of like, no, they have to be 16 before they do this, before they do this. We all know when a girl is already in a motherhood at the age of 9, you can carry a baby. You're a woman, you're a mother. We know it. Nature produced that sign, that body sign, to make you understand at that 9 or 8, if it happens to you earlier, or 10 to 13, you are a mother. You're ripe. So teaching our children, or teaching in a class like this and with our children, it's not too much for them. As a matter of fact, they have to. You know how they speak, you know how they defend everything, you know how they go, but we keep always refraining from that knowledge. I say, no, no, they're still too young, they have to learn it in this. No, we would also be getting our children, and in what we say, the young people's channel, not children, because none of them, they're so super intelligent. You've seen how they're winning in every part. You've seen the excellencies of black kids out there in America, in the Caribbean, on the continent, that are excelling. We're not even documenting. If we really were documenting people, I don't even know where we're going to keep this issue of excellence. We don't document, and we don't get to share the stories. In every passion, in every knowledge circle, we are the greatest, the best. For us, we're not in competition with anybody. We're not saying, I don't like that language. We're better than them. Better than who them? We're better for us. I don't care who better in their own sector. I care that I'm better in my own sector. Do we get it right? I don't care who is doing what to his own people there, but I care what I do to my own people. I care what we do to ourselves. So sometimes this kind of unhealthy competition, or is because this is a no, we're done with that. Now we know what happened. Now we know whatever thing happened. But now we do truly know that, yes, we know that it's time to take it over, or to take it to the next level. So I want to conclude by thanking Sister Reparation. Sister Reparation, as you see him in the chat, is going to be hosting the news, Pan-African news on Pan-African Daily TV. Please clap for her. Sister Reparation has voluntarily taken up this responsibility to say, yes, Dr. Tatah, we listen to the professors, but sometimes we just want to hear about news in the diaspora, on the continent, and stuff like that. And I think I can put in time to do that. I will start with a weekly news. Yeah. And so she will be coming here to host and analyze, what the newspapers are talking about Africa, and what are they saying about, or what is actually the news that is making place, whatever how we want it. So we welcome our sister Reparation when she is ready to start. I think very soon, because she's already working on it. I think we are going to be so, so super happy to have her. I would like to also sit and really just enjoy news. Of course, we do put a lot of news articles on Pan-African Daily TV Facebook page, and so she's also going to organize herself to get more of that content, because that's a fact check content. We don't want anybody coming and rating us like, oh, false news and all that kind of thing. We're too big for that. So we take the news from the sources, and we analyze the news from our own perceptions. We're not creating anything new, though. News means, what are other people talking about us, or what are us talking about ourselves? So I'm looking forward also to free will people that have talent in every other thing to join us in Pan African Daily. Like, I don't don't know, even a DJ, why not? We have a lot of songs that Africans are creating now, copy-free songs. We need maybe someday our evenings to just sit down and a DJ actually touch some Afro beats and some samba and some drums, and we just sit down and relax. What is it that we can do? There is nothing that is impossible for us to do. So we need DJs. We need all sort. Just host your program here with us. We're in the house. There's a lot of talent I see here. Too much, too much, too much. All right. Come out, show your face. Your playing small will not help the sovereignty of Africa, as we have heard today. So we congratulate Reparations, and I think he is actually going to be that, that number one. That number one. Thank you, Reparations. I also see you just posted a contact for us to host Shedda. Shedda was already here, Shedda was here already 2021. And I know he's mobilizing the new movement in Ghana. And of course, we'll be happy to have him. He knows Pan-African Daily so well. So yes, or you can host him. You understand? I mean, Nana Kwame, what is it? Bediako. That's his name, right? So yes, thank you for that connection and that contact. And any of you that want to share contacts of hosts, of possible hosts, or you want to take up a responsibility, like we said, we're looking for DJs to warm up our life. This Africa that we're talking about here is the education, but this Africa, does it actually just look static like this? We know it. So we need letter songs and Afrobeats that is rocking the world and teaching about Afrobeat and how it's actually misinterpreted, okay? And we see all the saga stories about our mega stars going out there, whatever is going on there, whether it's PDD or whatever. Yes, we need to redefine our stories. Whatever mistakes each other person has made, it's the time for us to unite and to build a sovereign Africa. So I thank you so very much. And I'll be leaving you. Somebody's just reminded me, like you were about to talk about the professor for Sunday. Yes, his name is Professor Mbaraka. He's actually the founder of the ICTU University that we said, these youths are doing incredible things. I'm trying to really get that institute as a partner, a permanent partner on the Pan-African Daily, so that we can begin to show the kind of things that these kids, young girls and boys, are creating in the ICTU. I'm telling you, it's a mind-blowing thing. And Usman Toure is an ambassador of the university. And when he reached there, he called me like, Dr. Tatah, please, the world is boiling here with our young people in so much talent going on here. So yes, we have a lot. Please come on board. We can host 24/7 on Pan-African Daily TV, but Dr. Tatah cannot do that alone. Thank you, brother. You're doing the same thing right here. We need movies and stories. Yes, and we have young Africans that are creating a lot of movies. I have one, and they call them the story of the teens. The story of the teens is currently a small group of, none of them is even about, none of them is 25, and they just create this story to talk about their daily life. And I was telling them, we can give you a platform actually to host your movies and your stories. So yes, we need a lot. If you know one that is talented, send them to us. If you can do it yourself, we are going to get them engaged. And if anyone is motivated, please, yes, do it. So apart from that, this Professor Mbaraka is going to be our guest on Sunday. That's how much time he could offer to us. And while we move ahead, I wish you all a pleasant evening, a good night. Those of you out there in the afternoon, we are already in the nighttime. So yes, thank you so very much, and good night to you. If we don't see us tomorrow, we see us on Saturday. Watch out for the press release, okay? Definitely tomorrow. Okay, thank you so very much.
You are watching the Pan-African Daily TV with Dr. Susan Tatah. The Africa we want. Unity, consciousness, our culture, our spirituality, our history. One Africa for Africans worldwide. Motherlands calling its diaspora home. Join my voice. Join my team. Join my campaign. Campaign 21 hashtag 1 million subscribers on the Panafrican Dailytv YouTube. Be a volunteer. Apply now. Be the new Africa.